Welcome to Absolute Niamna, the series all about Sinner within Arknights, except we are once again not doing that. We are surprisingly still qualified to use that tagline though, with 13 of the 18 videos in this series so far still being on topic if we use loopholes, of course, for some of them. So we can still afford these truly off-topic ones. Speaking of off-topic, we're getting off-topic, so Eblana. I like her. How much do I like her? This much, which is a very special privilege for my wives and some of my daughters. Your time will be soon, Blemmy. Anyway, I love Eblana not only because she's a well-written character and one of the few good things that come from the Victoria arc, she's also the flagship leader of a subclass that embodies my favorite magical power fantasy, Necromancy. I don't know why, but controlling hordes of the undead has always been something that's spoken to me, sort of like how the desire to have someone who can hold me close and cuddle me. What was I saying again? Oh yeah, Withered is one for me, and I'm glad I'm talking about her now. So welcome to Wifelana, the necromancer to top all necromancers. Let's start with the boss tax. What is a Shaper caster? Well, it's basically Hypergo's answer to the need for necromancy representation within the caster subclasses, and is a natural evolution of Dust's feeling gimmicks. Like first, we aren't limiting the spawn of the minions to a skill or once per a deployment. Rather, the only limitation now is simply letting an enemy die within their range, which plays into the theming of necromancy. Although think about it, only Eblana befits this title because of her powers are literally about resurrecting the dead through her flames. Like Techno is just a street artist with her minions being her puppets. So like, she turning the corpses of our enemies into street art? Well, I'm probably overthinking it, but this is very grim implications for future Shapercaster editions if they're not like in the same vein as Eblana. Anyway, I also want to say that while I like Eblana, I think she's suffering from a certain something in the design space with her talent and skills, but I'll get into that with the end of the video. Right now, all you need to know is that Wiflana here is just the polar opposite of Summoners as a subclass. Well, because as the subclass founders traded in a strength of the Summoner subclass to remove one of its weak points, like, we removed the global placement range of summoners and traded in for a placement system that relies on any location when they die for the summons, and then that's limited to her attack range. But we don't need to worry about wasting deployment slots or DP on summons that ultimately can't replace operators. Like, when you think about it, there's like a spectrum for subclasses of summons as part of their core kit. Like, summoners is on one end, and Shapercast is on the other end. Tacticians leaning towards Shapercasters, who get to choose where their summons goes while taking no deployment slots, but then they are limited by their attack range. And then you got Artificers and Trapmasters leaning towards Summoners with their global placement range, but still needing to pay the DP tax like Summoners do. Weird tangent, I know, but an interesting thought I had while discussing Scene of all operators on the Discord, which you should join by the way. Shapercasters are very much like Trapmasters or Artificers in talent design philosophy, where they have a talent that informs all the aspects that come with their trait, and if they have a second talent, it's usually to attack something on extra to help with their gameplay style. So let's start with the core talent, Rekindle. Basically, when an enemy dies in Eblana's range, she will convert them into a Servant of Lamentation, or as I will be calling them, Ghosties. She can have up to 3 Ghosties at once, but if she goes over the 3 Ghostie limit, she will instead upgrade an existing Ghostie, which basically just gives them more stats. At E2, it's just doubling their attack and health with a minor bump in defense and an extra block. And these Ghosties can only be upgraded once each unless you're using the skill 3, but we'll save that spiel for then. The only other thing worth noting is that the upgrading will always happen even if you're upgraded once, because upgrading doubles as healing for your summons. This basically means, that Eblana is the equivalent of a lane holder like Federico or Vulpus. Like, once she or someone kills an enemy in her range, she can effectively hold a lane all by herself, even against more beefier elites. Like, it's effectively paying 21 DP and waiting a little bit to have 3 2-block self-sustaining blockers and a caster who, frankly, has obscene damage potential, which gets carried even harder by her secondary talent, Deathbed Deliverance, which I'm pretty sure is the name of a metal album. Basically, she gets a 40% damage increase against enemies below 50% HP. Well, this also applies to her summons. Anyway, nothing really interesting to note right now, but I do want to discuss the future of her modules. You see, Shapercasters are in a very interesting position because they got their modules fast-tracked hard with both branches out at the same time. Like, they got their modules with Act or Die when they only had 2 members out at the time, with Eblana getting the mod X, which gives her an extra 15% attack against enemies being blocked by her summons, while Techno got the mod Y, which gave them an increased attack range, and these are both very useful. Unlike Tactician mod Y, which, well, it's not as clunky as the Shapercaster mod X to get that bonus, as Shapercaster trait lets them attack enemies within their summons range as well, but that doesn't mean a mod Y isn't completely unappealing for an operator like Eblana, especially considering she can get more out of it due to her Ghostie's range. That said, her mod X her mod X comes with an incredible quality of life update to Rekindle that makes mod 3 mandatory on her, well, specifically for the mod X. Like, it gives you a good chunk of attack with mod 3, giving you a 25% for 10 seconds when an enemy dies in range of her or her summon's range is defeated. But the actual reason to get it is right here, with this simple addition of her summon's range. It's so minor of an addition, but it boosts the consistency of ghosty spawning by so much, because suddenly enemies that die in Eblana's summoner's range will now contribute to summoning ghosties for Eblana. I would argue that this is honestly better than a mod Y, because let's be honest, how could mod Y compete with like this little bit of text, right? Like, I can only see a mod Y working if it also expands the range of her S3, or it has a similar quality of life to this, or it does something incredibly powerful with Deathbed Deliverance. But right now, I think you should just build the mod X at mod 3 if you really just want Eblana to be at her best. Her first skill, Dread Desire, is the closest thing we got to an AFK skill in the Shapercaster class so far. That was a fucking mouthful. Yes, it has an active, but all its power is front loaded into the passive, so it's kinda AFK friendly. Like, basically, whenever you summon a ghostie or a ghostie's upgraded, they do an AoE nuke in 1.5 towers around them, with the active effect resummoning all the current ghosties, or if there's none, she will just spawn one. So yeah, it's pretty AFK friendly to start off with, since as long as an enemy dies in her range, she just gets free value, and the high damage nature of the nuke means she can just go 0 to 100 in certain scenarios, such as chat swarms. But yeah, once all your ghosties are upgraded, this stops being an AFK skill very quickly. Since each ghostie can only be upgraded once, you will need to activate the skill in order to re-trigger the nuke to keep giving this skill a reason to be used over her other skills. But you should be doing that anyway, because saying resummoning also means repositioning your ghosties. I'm going to start calling them ghosties now. That's actually kind of fucking cringe. I'll just call them soldiers, because saying ghosties is getting annoying to say, and it will be confusing when we eventually get to Techno, who also has ghosts. Anyway, her soldiers are already innately to block once they're upgraded, which means they make great lane holders, and the resummoning gimmick on this skill just, heals them without needing to kill enemies, and also places them on the enemy if possible, meaning it's instant damage and they're ready to hold the lane again. Pair this with an incredibly low downtime of 17 seconds at skill level 3, or 13 seconds at M3. Eblana is a really good multi-lane holder. Unfortunately, doing better than Techno here, especially when she gets to the mod Y for that extra summoning range. I'm honestly just tempted to not even talk about the damage for this skill, because while it's obscenely high damage, her next 2 skills also has obscenely high damage caps as well, and the main value of this skill will be multi-lane control anyway, so Evade does its niche incredibly well, and I don't think I need to waste any more time on this, so moving on. Snap the Withered is her S2, and returns to a CC I don't really like, Sleep. Let's run down what this skill does before I do my sleep tangent. Basically, Eblana will target up to 2 enemies to put them to sleep and deal a arts dot every 0.5 seconds, with the sleep lasting 12 seconds. When a target dies during the sleep, it will spawn 2 ghosts, which is going to be very likely to happen because it's a 12-second sleep with a 0.5 second interval on its dot, which means there's 24 ticks of damage. And the value on this skill is fucking obscene. Like, at skill level 7, it's 130% of her attack per tick, and M3 is 160% per tick. And I know a 30% increase is whack low for the investment, but then you have to remember 24 ticks. So a M3 is adding about 720% more damage value. The master will be on screen soon using my Eblana, because your Eblana is shit. And this is just so you can see how obscene this skill is. This might as well be a boss melter, although I can't remember if bosses can be affected by sleep. I mean, I hope they are, because holy fucking values. Her damage output is actually one of the key problems with Eblana, but we will get to that at the end. Anyway, for the sleep tangent, I still don't like it as a CC due to its lack of interactiveness. To this day, the only operator I think that could justify using sleep over bind or stun is Iris, because the sleep is supposed to give her away to charge up stored attacks without burning them on other units, but it's very clear when it comes to sleep while 6-star operators, it's more of a balancing factor. Like, Blemmy's sleep skill, for example, which has a really strong passive heal attached to it, and outside of giving it, well, Blemmy more damage against sleeping targets, is more just to balance out the fact that, well, the fucking heal is obscene. Because, if it was a stun, it would make it like an OP all-rounder skill. Sleep is there as a downside, not as an upside. And for Eblana, it's clear the case. I mean, you're hitting them for 3,120% of her attack over that duration at skill level 7. Sleep is there to hold it the fuck back. Because if it was any other CC, this would outclass every single caster with a CC skill. Even with sleep, this is a obscenely good skill. The only real downside is, well, the sleep can be cancelled early if Eblana is hit by a CC herself, or you somehow levitate the sleep target. But aside from that, broken ass, obscene skill, especially when it can be applied to bosses, since most of them are, well, apparently immune to the melatonin. Crown of the Dead is our final skill, and is the skill I use all the time because it's just amazing for single lane holding, which is when I am mainly using her. This is another passive and active skill, so passive first. The first soldier summoned by the skill will be a special one, which you can, tell, because it has a special little shield, and this special one can be upgraded 6 times. And so, yeah, it's also larger, because, you get the special privileges. Anyway, its active effect lets Eblana to cast a slightly expanded nuke, and by slightly, I mean these 2 extra tiles next to her end tile, dealing huge damage that covers all this range 3 times. And each time she casts it, she will consume a soldier to buff the big soldier and heal it. There's a lot of bonuses you can gain from these soldiers, but let me sum up to you. This is just better Ling S3. It doesn't eat 2 deployment slots and a bunch of DP, and while you can argue that the place the big fuck off dragon anywhere is a win, I think any excuse to not use this alcoholic bitch that keeps gatekeeping me from my final shoe for every fucking banner is a win in my book, so it depends on your perspective and preference in drunk women. Anyway, 2 more funny things of note before we do the serious talk. This skill scales with Eblana's attack intervals. So, and if you don't like where the big one spawned, you can retreat it and hope you get lucky the next time around. Make of that as you will. Anyway, this also has obscene damage values because of reasons. Like, at skill level 7, it's 650%, and at M3 is 800%. So, times that by 3, and it's 1,950% and 2,400% respectively. And yes, I know, res can be a big factor here, but once again, holy fucking values. I am struggling to think of a caster who can hit harder than this outside of Kyobi in certain high-end situations, but that's just Kyobi being Kyobi. Anyway, quick maths on screen, because why not? I don't think my words are enough to sell the skill, so hopefully numbers will. Honestly, Honestly, the real cherry on this cake is the fact that the big boy soldier gets its own fucking skill he can cast. It's nothing special, it's just a piercing 4-tile dot that does 120% of its attack every second over 8 seconds, and the casting direction depends on the direction that Eblana is facing, adding a layer of clunkiness to the skill. But just like Sleep on S2, this is there to balance out the skill. Regardless, this skill is just like the other two, where it has its own niche. It excels at it and makes Eblana an M9 worthy unit. Although, if you're going to go down that route, just do S3 into S1 and then ending on S2. Like, S3 is just the most powerful skill, so skill priority is dictated by which niche is needed more frequently. In that case, it will definitely be S3. Okay, I'm just saying that now. So you may notice that I have some gripes with the damage output, and you may also notice the fact that I put a fucking asterisk in a thumbnail right next to the word ultimate. If you haven't noticed either, then I'm clearly just a bad writer who forgot to properly use repetition as a literary device, so sorry, my bad. Anyway, I think despite how much I like Eblana, she's being held back by her damage output because it's so good. I think we're gonna have a Saturn situation here. Like, if you don't know what I mean by that, I am referencing that famous painting of Saturn eating his own son out of fear of one of his own children overthrowing him. While that second part maybe not be relevant to this conversation, I do think Eblana will end up cannibalizing all future additions to this class just due to the nature of her damage output. We've seen this happen before with Weedy and Gladia. Both of them have pushed out the need for other operators in their subclass by simply just being the best option. And Eblana is poised to do that again. Eblana's power is problematic, and I don't think any future shapecaster, even a 6-star one, can compete with Eblana unless they meet the same level of power as her. And this does bring us to my second problem. Eblana came out way too early, and to illustrate my point, let's talk about 6-stars in the Pioneer subclass. The reason why I'm using the Pioneers as my example of this is because you can see like a very natural evolution of design with them. Like, it starts with Siege, who just simply did big damage with a side DP gen, very simple, nothing much. And so they had like a lot of wiggle room for future Pioneers. So next was Saga, who also did big damage with a side DP, but now also adds a soloing potential with a second talent, while giving her the ability to be an SP donator with her first talent. A good iteration on Siege, but now we can't revisit those exact ideas without treading on Saga's toes. So when we got to Flametail, they tackled the solo laning potential through dodge chance and focused on that purely, as you can't really iterate further on the other Saga talent. Fast forward to Vulpes, and now we have perfected the solo laning gimmick via an actual self-healing and camouflage on S3. There's also a point to be made about how important 5-stars are in the process of this evolution with Zima and Ponsaris, but we'll save that topic for a different video. The point is, as a subclass grows in members, it forces its newest members to new uncharted territories in order to avoid overlapping, with this mainly applying to 6-star members, as 5-stars will usually just be the ones who get their ideas approved on by these 6-stars. Eblana didn't get that to benefit from this, because she has no true predecessors to push her into these new areas. Like, Dust exists, but she only set up the foundations for the subclass, and Techno was iterated on by Eblana, with Rekindle just being a better version of Techno's S1, and Techno's S2 kind of just got beaten by S3 in every single possible way. Eblana has nothing really interesting going on outside of big damage, and that big damage is only there because of a knee-jerk reaction by the CN community, which led us to this, situation. I think Eblana would have done much better if they actually fleshed out their subclass more before they, released her. But they rushed her out as one of the many consequences of the Butchered Victoria arc, which need to be tidied up fast. These two problems are quite huge, and this just makes me really bothered, especially the fact that we could have gone a far more interesting kit if given the time, but it doesn't stop me from, loving her. Like, she's still one of my favorite characters in terms of writing, and if it wasn't for Nian, who's once again literally me in every single possible way, I would be an Eblana stan. While her kit may betray this fact, I think she is one of they're more excellently well-crafted characters. And yes, her kit is blandish. It does not stop me from deploying her every single time. A privilege that I don't even give to Mumu and Huyak, because sometimes I just get sick of managing their gimmicks and I just need a quick break from them. So I guess that's an upside of a blandish kit. Regardless of what I said here, though, I'm still looking forward to each new Shapercaster and maxing them out because I'm just a fan of Necromancy. And if Withered is going to be the queen who will forever reign over them, well, I can't help but support my girl boss wife, girl bossing efforts. So long live the fucking queen.